So we know that the peso has been outperforming the dollar. You're getting less pesos for your dollar. Things are costing more if you're making dollars and spending pesos now compared to last year. But one of the things that's available is the ability to invest in pesos. And because the interest rates are so high in Mexico, this is becoming a lot more sexy than it was just a few years ago. So that's what this video is going to be about. We're talking about investing in Mexico, bringing your dollars down, turning them into pesos, and then earning interest rates. Say, how does 11% sound on a CD that is a 365-day CD? That's what we're talking about today. And I am here at Actinver. They have offices across Mexico, and they are a bank plus investing and banking. I've got Bernardo and Abraham. There we go. Sorry, I really want to pronounce it the Mexican way, although he said it's fine if I pronounce it the American way. Let's dig in here, and we'll start with Bernardo and just some of the basics here. The difference between, say, buying a CD in the US and buying a CD in Mexico when it comes to inflation and the rates that you get, because I think that is important.
Yes, hi, I'm Bernardo Gonzalez. I'm in charge of all the international banking in Actinver, all the expats banking in Mexico. We're going to talk about interest rates in Mexico. So right now there is a phenomenon between inflation and rates you're getting in an investment. For example, in the States, there is the reference rate is around 5.20% and the inflation is around 5.5%. So you have a negative rate of 0.3, meaning that you're losing money when investing. In Mexico, Mexico has 5% inflation and you're getting an 11.5% rate on your investment. So you have a positive rate of 6.5. So this is what is making a lot of capital flowing into Mexico, and that's what also has helped to keep the peso dollar so high. When investing in Mexico, you can invest daily, 28 days, 91 days, or 360 days. And rates, depending on the term, rates go up, right? On the daily, you can get 9.8. On the 28 day, you can get 9%. On the 91 day, you can get 11%. On the 365 days, you can get 11.80%.
So we're going to be going back and forth and making it very clear when we're talking about something that is offered by Actinver versus other banks and kind of like what you could expect from a big national bank like Banorte, which is where I bank, versus what you could expect from a different type of bank. But let's look at the dollar amounts, essentially translated into pesos, that you would need to invest to get these types of rates.
For the 10.8% rate, it's you can start from $60,000, converted into pesos, of course. For the 11 rate, you can start from above $60,000 and up to $300,000. And to get the 11.5 rate, you can go $300,000 and above. That is 91 days term. If you go 365 days, you can get 11.8% from 100,000 pesos, which is around $6,000 at this moment.
When I was looking at the numbers as he was writing them down, I was like, oh, wow, you for a year to get 11% on essentially an insured deposit. I'll ask him to talk about insured deposits, kind of like the FDIC. But there's also the risk of the exchange rate changing. And that is something I'm going to have him try to explain the exchange rate aspect of this. I've got another video about the changing of the peso in one of these corners that covers this really well. But now we're talking investing, so I want to get a little bit of his take on this.
Okay, so we used to the peso depreciation most of the time. Even a lot of Mexicans hold around 50% of their wealth in dollars, right? That's to protect our acquisitive power in Mexico as well. So the dangers of exchanging the dollars into pesos, of course, the peso could devaluate at some point, right? But what a lot of people don't know is that the reference rate from Mexico also takes in account the depreciation of the peso. So if you run the reference rate with the peso through 40, 50, 60 years, you come up with the same dollars that you had in the past. That doesn't mean that in 2 months you're going to have a variation, of course, and you might have less dollars at some point. But the Mexican reference rates from the Banco de Mexico are designed to come up with all this depreciation against the US dollar.
So one other key thing that we're going to mention by the end of this video, these guys promised me this, is to tell you when the lines will be shortest at the banks. So make sure you stick around for that, and also click the subscribe button down below now, and you'll be notified of future videos on this channel. Thanks so much. That really helps me out.
there's a lack of people wanting to exchange the dollars right now, and we have been seeing this for the last year. So let's say in the last year you have been invested in the 11.5 plus the 24% that the peso has done against the dollar. So you're around at 36, 38% of gain that you haven't made. Yeah, that doesn't mean that the peso cannot go back. At this moment, there's no reason, no analysts see any reason for the peso to lose its value. Although also there is a lot of money coming in for the nearshoring effect that is bringing a lot of capital into Mexico. All these plants coming to manufacture. Even no analysts dare to say where they see the peso in the near future. So we're right now in unknown number. The peso has gained almost 8 years of value to the past. So we're around 2015 on the peso dollar value.
Yeah, I think a lot of us got used to that 20 pesos to a dollar. It was really great because it was super easy to calculate the price of things. But during the pandemic, that was kind of average. It got up above 20, 23, or 25 or something like that at the worst point. But this is probably a little more normal. And as he said, there is so much investment going on into Mexico. There's so much money flowing into Mexico from the United States, also from China, that is making the peso very strong. So it's, once again, nobody knows exactly where it's going to go, but it's probably going to stay strong for at least that year or something like that. There's probably not anything major that's changing on the horizon. But let's talk once again about the security here in the U.S. If you invest, if you have money in the bank and the bank goes out of business, you will have that covered. So let's hear about how that works in Mexico.
So yes, in Mexico, your money is also protected in the banking system. You're protected up to $180,000 of your capital. It can be cash, it can be invested in CDs. Let's say something happened to the financial system, as it did in some countries. Your money is protected up to $180,000.
And that's $180,000 right now. It's actually, I think, 3 million pesos, whatever that translates to in dollars. But it gives you an idea that it's relatively similar to what you would see in the United States. And you can open bank accounts at different banks, just like you could in the United States if you had a bigger dollar amount that you wanted to protect that was just in a bank account. So let's look at maybe comparing banks now. Like, what is maybe typical at a Banorte, a big bank, which would be Banorte, would probably be similar-ish to Bank of America or something like that, versus smaller banks in the U.S. which are paying better interest rates right now.
Well, a big difference between banks in Mexico is what their purpose or objective is, right? So we have these big transactional banks, like the one you mentioned, or the blue or the red one over here, and we have small petite banks like Actinver that are taking care of personal service and attention. Like in here in Actinver, you will get your personal banker. Of course, we have technology, 1-800 numbers, and or digital banking. But we do think that personal attention is going to be a lot more important in the next year when everybody's going into technology. Yeah. For example, in a regular bank, the rates are really not so high like ours, but they're close to 10%. But they just don't offer it to you because it's not their core business. What they do is they do loans, they do credit cards, and they do volume banking. What we do here is we do investment, we do back-to-back loans, and we help you to grow your money. That's kind of where the difference lies between getting an offer of a nice rate or not getting an offer of a nice rate. Just to make an example, in statistics, 6 out of every 10 Americans invest their money in the US, and 4 out of 1,000 Mexicans invest their money in Mexico. So it's very low rate of investment population.
This is great because I so feel out of my area of expertise. So I love bringing you guys experts that can really answer these questions. So I just said, is there a Mexican stock exchange?
Yes, there is a Mexican stock market as well, and it has been doing pretty well. Plus, the peso value has helped it a lot. You could buy companies like Oxxo, Lala, Rotoplas, Tequila, Jose Cuervo, many other very famous companies in Mexico. And you could also buy stocks from all over the world, like Apple, Tesla, Amazon. Whatever stock you can buy it from Mexico.
Okay, so what I just heard is that it's easier to buy stock in Apple in Mexico than it is to get an iPhone with a US plan. Some of you might have seen my video. If you haven't seen the video when Kat dropped her iPhone with a US plan into a turtle pond, and I had to go all the way to San Diego to get a new iPhone that was compatible with a US plan. You can get an iPhone for a Mexican plan, but anyway, easier to buy Apple stock in Mexico than to buy an actual phone. Okay, now we're going to talk taxes, because if you have an investment account, you're going to be making money in Mexico. Kat and I have made it a point to not make any money in Mexico. Neither one of us has clients in Mexico, so we keep everything simple. But when you start talking about 10, 11% interest, it's like, well, maybe it's worth it to start making money in Mexico and paying taxes on that. And it's really interesting. I'm going to have these guys explain how that works, because it seems to be a lot easier than is typical in the United States.
Yeah, so when it comes to taxes on your investment, in Mexico, you get taxed 0.15%. Let's say you're making an 11.15%, you will get a real 11% out of your investment. That 0.15 is being deducted by the bank and being paid on your name to the Mexican tax system. And at the end of the year, you will get a tax statement saying how much taxes you have paid on all your investments, so you can show it to the United States and not make double taxation on your income.
So now let's talk just generally banking in Mexico, how to get your money into the bank account here in Mexico from the United States or from Canada. One of the things with Banorte, I use Wise, so I get a good rate and I get very little fees, and it just have my accounts connected, and boom, the money makes it from the U.S. transfers according to the mid-market exchange rate. So Wise is pretty good that way. Now there are some banks out there. Intercam is one of them. Sorry to talk bad about a bank, but a lot of gringos use Intercam. And the one thing that I hear as a complaint is that they won't let you use Wise. I've actually heard that if you complain hard enough, they will let you use Wise, but they'll tell you no. And then they will, when your money is brought from the United States directly into Intercam, they make a lot of money by giving you a not so good exchange rate. So everything seems wonderful, but I've talked about this before with ATM fees and exchange rates and stuff like that. Everything gets complicated, and you miss the fact that they are taking a lot of your money. Someone was talking about making a transfer of a couple $100,000 US. They were probably buying their house, and they were like, yeah, well, this 1% interest, the difference in the exchange rate being very small, was adding up to thousands of US dollars. So I'm gonna have these guys talk a little bit about moving money into Mexico, how it works with these guys, or how they would suggest working with other banks.
Okay, well, normally when you're sending money from other country to Mexico, you're doing an international wire transfer. And most banks charge for that transaction, let's say from $25 to $40 out of a transaction. So what we do here in Actinver is we own a concentrating account in several countries like the US or Europe. So for you, it's a domestic transfer. So we can either receive US dollars or receive euros in your account, or you can also use our exchange account. What happens with the normal banking in Mexico is that you're getting ripped off 60 cents to 90 cents out of every transaction. And so you're getting the pesos down here, and you don't decide on the exchange rate. What we do here is we receive the dollars and we wait for the good exchange rate, and you get a proposal exchange rate from your advisor, so you get a better deal every time. Yeah. So the way there will be sending your currency to Mexico with no fees with us. For us, exchange rate is not a business; it's a service. Okay. So because our interest is to help you manage your money and to invest your money, so we're not going to charge you out of 60 cents off of every exchange. Okay. So for us, it's a commodity. I think a lot of banks, Mexican banks, are making a lot of money out of the exchange rate. I think it's unfair because it can be easily wired in your same currency, and then you can decide when to exchange it.
So sometimes banking in Mexico can be a little bit frustrating just with what seems like inefficiencies. Actually, this morning I was talking to Tamar and Kelly. You might know those guys over on YouTube too. And they were saying they opened their account with, I think, Banorte in La Paz. And then they needed to add an account or change something. And now they live closer to Cabo. And so they came to Cabo and thought, go to a Banorte account or a Banorte branch. And I said, no, for that you need to go back to the exact branch you started with in La Paz. So opening an account takes a couple of hours. So I want to hear why that is. Also, I want to make sure we get a tip on which days that which days you're going to see lines at the Mexican bank so that you can avoid those days.
Yeah, well, Mexican banking system really protects the user, right? So you will find out that you cannot make the signature different. You need to sign the same exact way that you sign in your passport. And sometimes that will lead you to a very frustrating day in banking. Like having 1 hour, 2 hours to approve a deposit, or 1 hour, 2 hours to approve a check. But that is all for your safety, guys, okay? So what we have find out is how to go around these things and help you out do things better. So we ask for the documentation in advance through an email, through a WhatsApp. We can do a whole contract before you coming in, and then you still need to bring the originals to do the contract, but you're not going to be sitting here 2-3 hours, okay? So another big tip is long lines in banks. Every 15th day and first day of the month is when Mexican people get paid, and they want to take all the cash out from the bank, and they're doing these long lines. Also Fridays is when operational people is getting paid, restaurant, construction workers, everyone. So you see all these big lines in most of Mexican banks, okay? So the difference also here in Actinver, when you get in, you get offered a coffee, you sit down on your couch, you will see a living room there, and you get attended by your personal advisor every time.
There you go. Now you know which days to avoid the bank. I always was just like, okay, well, which day? I could never keep it straight. So 1st, 15th, and Fridays, those are your days. So let's let these guys talk a little bit about Actinver. If you're looking to invest in Mexico, these guys have offices around the country. So let's hear more about that.
Hello, my name is Abraham. I'm the investment senior advisor in this branch in Actinver. So what we do is we have offices almost in the main cities around Mexico, and we provide a totally personalized service in any branch. So we're going to help you with, since they open an account, you don't need to come here. You can send us the information first, email, WhatsApp, etc., and then we can prepare the paperwork. Once it's just ready, you can come in and sign it. It's very easy because we can help you to protect the wealth of our clients. We can invest in all kinds of instruments, Mexican instruments, equity, CDs, pagaré, promissory notes, or if you want to invest around the world, you can invest in all kinds of sectors that you want to invest as well.
So this has been a super educational video. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. If you are looking to open an account, you can reach out to Abraham. His contact information is down below. You can check out on the website. They've got a great website, so you can find information there too. Otherwise, I want you to watch one of these two videos here. One is on using your US ATM card in Mexico, and the other one is explaining the change in the peso and how that has been impacting foreigners in Mexico. Hasta luego.